You guys through this. All right, everyone, let's do this. Thank you so much for coming to the live writing with Katie Cross. This is my setup for audiobook production. So I've already done all this setup, so we're just gonna get started recording right away. I usually have my books right here in Google Docs because I collaborate a lot with team members. So this Google Doc is the actual story called The Plummet. The Plummet is a story about Merrick and Bianca falling in love. Basically, it takes place between Alcara Awakening and the High Priest's daughter. This story has been written with some of the people that are present. So we've done this live writing with Katie where people can come in and actually watch me create the story. I don't join the audio, I can't hear or see anyone, and I just share my screen and you can see the story unfold. So I thought we have to do that for the audiobook. So that's what we're doing here tonight. So you'll see me flub up a lot. I'm nervous because I've never done this live before. So it's going to take me a minute to get like my breath control and my accents and that kind of stuff, but it'll start coming. Merrick and Bianca and Derek are really natural accents for me, but you'll also see that sometimes I forget an accent or I need to like touch base with it, and you'll see how I do that each time. So I expect this to be about 2 hours long total. I think I'll be able to narrate it in about an hour and a half, and then we'll have a question time. But as I said before, it depends on the stars and the tides and my children coming in and dogs and stuff. So we'll just take this as it comes. Let's see. The Plummet by Katie Cross. Narrated by Katie Cross. Part of what you'll see as I do that is as I write, I have to set it up a certain way. So I have to create separate, basically, files for each thing, like the opening credits and the closing credits, because of the way I export them later. And I always do the ending credits at the beginning. This has been The Plummet by Katie Cross, written and narrated by... Oh, I must redo that. This has been The Plummet by Katie Cross, written and narrated... Oh, I already said written. Okay. I do that. This has been The Plummet by Katie Cross. Do I want text copyright? That's what it is. Okay. Katie Cross. Text and audiobook production copyright. Text and audiobook production copyright 2022 by Katie Cross. There we go. Nailed it. Okay. So TPRR2 is the Plummet Reader Request 2. It's the acronym that we use throughout my company to designate different manuscripts and stories and stuff. This just helps me know where it belongs. Author's note. This story is the second in a series that I call the Reader's Request series, where readers can write in and request a specific book, scene, or backstory. One day in the fall of 2022, Heather Frederick, there we go. One day in the fall of 2022, Heather Frederick requested to see Merrick's side of falling for Bianca. I'm happy to oblige. The Plummet takes place during I'm happy to oblige. The Plummet takes place during Alcara Awakening and the High Priest's daughter, and chronicles Merrick's experience as he develops feelings for Bianca. If you haven't read the network series yet, this will contain can't say read. Let me say listen. Feelings for Bianca. If you haven't listened to the network series yet, this will contain spoilers. Now, Time for more Merrick. Katie Cross. At the end of every track, I have to have at least 3 or 4 of those bars of silence, which is why I pause. I usually hold my breath because my microphone is so strong. I can show you, it'll pick up my breaths. It'll actually even pick up my mouth sounds. It's really annoying. And I don't usually do dedications, but because this is the Reader's Request series, we do dedications so that Heather, in this case, gets her love. To Heather Frederick and the countless others who requested more Merrick and started this whole thing. No, that needs to be who started. And let's give it a dedication. Okay. Dedication. To Heather Frederick and the countless others who requested more Merrick, who started this whole thing. Oh, that's going to be that. That sounds funny to have 2 who's. To Heather Frederick and the countless others that requested more Merrick, no, we're just going to do this. That whole who started this whole thing is weird. That's better. So that right there, that's me breathing. To Heather Frederick and the countless others that requested more Merrick. Okay. Make these a little skinnier. That's better. All right. We are rocking and rolling. All right, let's dive into the story, my friends. Chapter 1. The stone walls of the gatehouse above Chatham Castle's outer Bailey wall pressed in on Merrick like a suffocating cave on a good day. Today was not a good day. No visible witches milled inside the gatehouse. The sound of clanking metal and murmuring voices came from the other side of the open space, kept warm by a fire, where the head of Guardians Tiberius met with several captains. Just like, I have to listen because I heard a noise out here. I can hear a dog barking. Milled inside the gatehouse. The sound of clanking metal and murmuring voices came from the other side of the open space, kept warm by a fire, where the head of Guardians Tiberius met with several captains. A rise of laughter, followed by a barked command, tapered away. A dozen reasons that the head of Protectors, Derek Black, might have called for him ran through his mind. So right there, I wasn't balancing my breath very well, and I had a little intake of breath. I think you can see right there. So I have to listen back and see if you can hear it, or listen if I can hear it. Yep, I heard it. It was like just a little, but the microphone picks up everything. So really, everything in audiobook control, like recording, is breath control. And I'm nervous, so I'm breathing fast, like my heart's a little faster. Anyway, it's going away. You guys aren't a bad audience because I can't see you at all. Okay, let's try this again. Tapered away. A dozen reasons that the head of Protectors, Derek Black, might have called for him ran through his mind. Did he do something wrong? A new mission? He stifled the surge of hope. He was 3 months away from when the 10 brothers would decide to keep or eliminate him from the I don't need that. He stifled the surge of hope. He was 3 months away from when the 10 brothers would decide to keep or eliminate him from the elite brotherhood of protectors. 3 months for his budding career to thrive or die. The last 2 years, well, more than that, counting his time in the Central Network Guardians, would culminate. Or not. Merrick waited several paces away from Derek's desk, hands in front of him. Derek stood behind it, skimming a curled piece of parchment. With a grunt, he discarded the letter off to the side and pressed his palms into the desk. Derek's swampy gaze met his. Have a seat, Merrick. Have a seat, Merrick. Let me check this. There is, so I have this plethora, like it's like a dictionary of character voices, so that I can hear a snippet of their voice and make sure I'm doing it right.
Quiet but powerful and trustworthy.
Have a seat, Merrick. Okay, that's a little better. Have a seat, Merrick. Have a seat, Merrick. Merrick suppressed the urge to refuse. He lowered to a wooden chair a pace away. The space gave him breathing room, but didn't make this easy. The past 2 months had drained the vitality out of Derek. Bruised bags lay in shadows beneath his eyes, leading to a pale expression and weariness beyond words. So I have to check that breath. Commas are killer. Yeah, I have a weird breath in between the comma. Bruised bags lay in shadows beneath his eyes, leading to a pale expression and weariness beyond words. Losing a wife had a way of robbing conviction, even for the great Derek Black. Derek rubbed a hand over his cheeks, through his hair, and shook his head, as if to wake himself up. Protector work had been busy. Well, for them. As yet an unofficial member of the Brotherhood, Derek hadn't asked for Merrick to help as much as Merrick wanted. I have a special assignment for you. Merrick's tension halved. Relief followed. Here we go. The great thing about narrating my own audiobook is I can edit. Merrick's tension halved. Relief followed like a landslide. What assignment would the head of protectors have for a trainee? Instinct told him nothing he'd be too excited about. Sir? Sir? Sir. Okay, so the trick here is Merrick can't have his Scottish accent, so we have to make it still sound like Merrick without the rolling R's. So I'm gonna have to stop a lot and figure Merrick out, but I think that sir is fine because it's just one word. Let's see. Let me practice something. Did something happen, sir? Did something happen, sir? So I try to keep the cadence of Merrick without the accent of Merrick. Did something happen, sir? Did something happen, sir? We'll see. Sir? Derek sniffled, nose wrinkling. You're aware of what happened at the network school with my daughter 2 months ago? Yes? She's not taking it well, as to be expected. The move to Chatham Castle has been difficult for her. More to the point, her magic is wild. Almost out of control. Today, we saw just how much. Whispers of recent events had stirred through the castle for hours. A dragon, an explosion, poachers, and death. Every rumor tied back to Bianca somehow, no matter how ridiculous or untrue they might be. Whew. Guardians in the... Hold on. My daughter's crying. I think we're okay. Guardians in the dungeons had guffawed for hours. Did something happen, sir? Derek sighed, more groan than breath. All right, so we're going to check that Merrick. Yeah, it'll do. My daughter's definitely too loud right now. She must be going to bed. Just a sec. There we go. Derek sighed, more groan than breath. Bianca saved a forest dragon from poachers near the castle, but nearly killed herself and a couple of other witches in the process. She harbors no regret, as well she may not need to. So there's a moment in there where I say killed herself and it inflates weird. Yeah, it sounds too weird. It'll be distracting. More groan than breath. Bianca saved a forest dragon from poachers near the castle, but nearly killed herself and a couple of other witches in the process. She harbors no regret, as well she may not need to. Jikes. The High Priestess has demanded that I enact some measure to help gain control. To help Bianca gain control. That I enact some measure to help. Oh, see right there, I got in there too early. Thy priestess has demanded that I enact some measure to help Bianca gain control, or we're going to have a bigger issue. She needs someone to help her manage the magic while she works through the grief. The two seem to play off of each other. Derek's leaden voice had a rote tone. He spoke out of necessity, not desire. So, I do this. I have voice descriptions after the paragraph, like after the voice, and then I don't always, like, that had a little more nuance in his voice, so I need to go re-record it, because that wasn't rote. I need him to be, like, have less, fluctuation. Some measure to help Bianca gain control, or we're going to have a bigger issue. She needs someone to help her manage the magic while she works through the grief. The two seem to play off of each other. Derek's leaden voice. I slurred the S. Derek's leaden voice had a rote tone. He spoke out of necessity, not desire, like a bored teacher at the front of the room. The strange detachment concerned Merrick more. Merrick leaned forward, forearms on his thighs. Clarity provided edges to this picture. Though he didn't want to comprehend what Derek said, he did. Derek wanted someone to help Bianca with her magic. Like a babysitter. Try as he might, he couldn't conjure up a picture of Bianca in his head. Black hair, maybe? Young, he thought. 12 or so? He forced his mind back to the present moment. How can I help? Derek reached to the side, extracted a lump from underneath his desk. Crushed velvet melted away to reveal a sword. Merrick sucked in a breath through his teeth. A petite thing, smaller than a longsword, with an integral guard in the handle and sculpted designs along the blade. Ivy? Ooh, that was a weird breath, and then it made Ivy sound weird. There's something else. I have page numbers at the top. Okay. Ivy? Derek ran a hand along the edge, peered down the shiny exterior. The sword looked sharp as a new axe. It must be light, would float and swing like a dream. None of that surprised Merrick. The swooping A at the bottom, near the juncture of guard and blade, did. Andre, the sword maker, gave this to me. You've heard of him? Merrick nodded. It's meant for Bianca. He called it Vivite. Naming a sword. That was new. Andre had legendary blades, but Merrick had never seen one up close. His fingers itched to feel as if the metal... Not as if. But Merrick had never seen one up close. His fingers itched to feel if the metal was as smooth as it looked. Dragonian steel, perhaps? Yes, sir. It's made for Bianca, but she needs to learn how to use it. She knows shield work. I taught her with wooden swords for most of her childhood, but nothing this sharp or agile. Not a real sword, at any rate. She lost her shield against Mabel, he added, almost as an aside. Rough battle. Derek stood, swung Vivite. Her blade slipped around, sending prisms across the close walls, as he moved her through several forms with confident grace. Oh, my nose is itchy. My nose gets so itchy when I record. It drives me bonkers. Later this afternoon, the High Priestess will call you and Bianca to her office. She'll ask you for a recounting from B about what happened today. Mildred wants you there. We're going to tell Bianca that you'll train her as a way to help her gain control again. You want me to train her? Derek's shrewd gaze narrowed. Okay. I started going into Derek's voice as I narrated that, so it sounds a little wonky. Derek's shrewd gaze narrowed. No, but yes, I want you to train her and watch her. She's going to be wild, impetuous, maybe take risks neither of us can afford. I want someone to have eyes on her. Keep her busy running in the forest, make her tired. Maybe she won't be such a fool if she doesn't have the energy for it. Like a puppy, Merrick thought. Merrick suppressed an annoyed eye roll. He hadn't met Bianca, knew her only through rumors and brief glimpses. I said glimpses, not glimpses. We're going to start at a different spot. Like a puppy, Merrick thought. Merrick suppressed an annoyed eye roll. He hadn't met Bianca, knew her only through rumors and brief glimpses here and there, though she stayed mostly hidden from the world. A wild forest girl, he'd heard, that went barefoot most of the time and was doomed with a complicated inheritance curse. You're in the Brotherhood magic, so you can contact me anytime. There's no telling what she'll do. Hold on, I gotta put my hair up. It's too hot. As you can see, I'm in my closet. I think it's freaking hot in here. So hot. I actually normally just record in a bra, but I'm not going to put you guys through that. All right. A rush of nerves followed. Derek brought Merrick into the special magic the Brotherhood used to communicate months ago. A secretive, thought-transporting magic that allowed the brothers to speak into each other's heads, but not read thoughts. Merrick used it rarely. Rarely. So weird. But not read thoughts. Merrick used it rarely, mostly listened. Yes, sir, but how... That is... Roggenwald, she, Matthias Dale. Any of them are more qualified than myself. I'm not looking for experience. I'm looking for matching energy, intensity. You're younger, closer to Bianca's age. She'll act differently around you than she will Chi. Roggenwald? Out of the picture. Zane and Matthias are too busy. Too late, Merrick saw the idiocy of his suggestion. Brawny, gruff Roggenwald with a teenager? He shuddered at the thought. The good gods, he hoped she was older than 10. His questions stalled. He had so much to ask, he didn't know where to start. Derek sent him a challenging look, as if he already knew what Merrick wanted to say. I'd consider this a personal favor to me as much as an assignment, Merrick. Well, that clenched it. He wouldn't, refuse the head of protectors, even for a nanny job that would have him looking like an idiot. No protector apprentice would turn down an opportunity to prove themselves. Not to mention, Derek continued in a low drawl, actually, if you try to read my books against my audiobooks, they read very differently. I take stuff out. Not to mention that you're coming up on a very important vote. I take every chance you have to impress the brothers. They can be very hard to sway. Merrick's gaze dropped to the sword again. Well, maybe not a nanny job. If he had to teach a teenage girl, sword fighting would be acceptable. Running in the forest? Not bad. She'd probably be slow, tedious, giggly. He suppressed a sigh. Yes, sir. I accept with gratitude and look forward to helping however I can. Sorry, I hesitated. There's someone I need to let in. Oh, they went away. However I can. Derek let out a long breath. If Merrick had to peg it with an emotion, he'd almost call it relief. Get used to running, Derek muttered as he straightened away from his desk. You'll be doing it a lot. Get used to running. Is that different from Merrick's? I accept with gratitude and okay. All right. Merrick stepped up the final stair of a sweeping staircase in Chatham Castle and paused at the top. After speaking with Derek that morning, a low-level hum of dread filled his stomach. He'd left the elegant sword back at the wall, tucked between his mattress and bed frame where other guards wouldn't find it. I hitched a breath. No, I didn't. That one's okay. I didn't hitch. Until he knew how capable this girl was, he wouldn't give her a sharp weapon. He turned to the left, toward the High Priestess's office, and stopped. A young woman stood there, ear pressed to the wooden door. Intricate designs filled the wooden panel, homages to the leader that had come before. Leaders. Intricate designs fill the wooden panel, homages to the leaders that had come before. Black hair swept past sturdy shoulders, almost to the bottom of her shoulder blades. He paused, arrested. That was no teenager. A pair of dark eyes tapered in concentration, her bottom lip sucked slightly in. She peered down the hall, clearly not seeing anything. Ah, this had to be Bianca Monroe. Eavesdropping on the High Priestess, no less. Cheeky girl. Then again, what else should he expect from the daughter of Derek Black? Merrick stole a moment to reorganize his brain away from a puny teenager and over to this lovely witch. Whew, I went too long, not managing my breath well. Under no circumstance had he expected someone closer to him in age than 15. Bianca might be closer to 18. Oh, I used closer back to back. Might be near to 18. Okay, yeah. So we'll start right here. Someone closer to him in age than 15. Bianca might be near to 18, he'd wager. Certainly not a sprig of a girl. The set of her jaw implied a sense of determination, stubbornness. Well, this could be interesting after all. Silently as possible, he crossed the wide hallway and approached to the side of her immediate view. Her position didn't waver. A slight tapering of her eyelashes nearly pressed the dark fans closed. He stopped. No sign of noticing him yet. Merry meet, Bianca. She gasped, whirled around. A hand pressed to her heart as she scowled with a ferocity born of her father. Recognition slipped through her dark gray eyes, thick as a thunderstorm about to break. Oh, you startled me. What are you doing here, Merrick? His name on her lips startled him, but he stuffed the belly-jerking response away. If she knew his name, Derek must have mentioned him, though the notoriety of his position as protector-apprentice often preceded him, not always in flattering ways. Either way. I want to eliminate another, repetitive. It was way and way. Actually, we have all ways and flattering ways, and then anyway. Let's do this. Not always in flattering. Whisper? No. Tones. There we go. Often preceded him, not always in flattering tones. He didn't know how he felt about the suspicion in her tense expression, nor the skepticism that coated her tone. She struck him as the type of witch that didn't trust easily. Then I used tone. It's whack-a-mole. That coated her voice. Voice will work. Suspicion in her tense expression, nor the skepticism that coated her voice. She struck him as the type of witch that didn't trust easily. The message from the High Priestess appeared between his fingers, brought by an incantation. The High Priestess summoned me. What are you doing here? She struggled with something to say. He cast a quick spell that brought sounds from within the High Priestess's office forward. Shuffling, a low murmur of voices, likely the same things Bianca heard and struggled to decipher. After several moments' hesitation, her dark eyebrows lifted. A hint of haughtiness boosted her voice. I'm ensuring the success of my future. I'm ensuring the success of my future. Haughty. I'm ensuring the success of my future. That one's better. Unable to help it, Merrick smiled. The sounds within grew. Someone walked closer to the door now. You may want to step back then, or else your future is going to involve a black eye. Bianca scampered away just in time. The edge of her arm brushed his, and a cool shiver slipped through him. He dismissed it. Meant nothing. The High Priestess's voice barreled into the hallway. Okay. I have to remember Mildred. So I'm going to go to my little library and play Mildred. You guys probably can't hear it.
An inheritance curse, I would wager, from that expression of pain.
An inheritance curse, I would wager. Let's see. Both of you may enter. Right?
I apologize for the rough transformation, but I asked Martin to do it.
Both of you may enter. I need to practice a few ones. Where is she? The grief over losing your mother has made your magic stronger. I'm not sure how I feel about you being so bold. Okay, got her. Both of you may enter. All right. Barreled into the hallway. Both of you may enter. A quick glance from Bianca stalled him. He motioned to her first. When she stepped forward, a hint of bare feet lingered beneath a plain skirt. Linen, overly simplified, unlike his sister Jacqueline, who complicated every garment she touched. Across the way, the high priest... Oh, I took too much of a breath. Across the way, the high priestess stood on the other side of her desk, profiled by the setting sun. Damp humidity lay in the air as he entered and shut the door behind him. This would be a perfect opportunity for the Brotherhood to test his thoroughness, so he remained slightly behind Bianca as they advanced inside. The vantage gave him better visibility to canvass the room. 4 open windows. Oh, I do that. I add a D after an S, so I said windowsed. It's subtle, but I can hear it. 4 open windows, closed hidden entrance near the back corner, 2 visible occupants. A quick turn of his attention to magical perception confirmed no other invisibility incantations active. No perceived threats, except for the glowering witch near the window, Bianca's father. Derek lingered near the fear wall. The fear wall. Derek lingered near the far wall, hands folded in front of him. He acknowledged Merrick with a lifted eyebrow, then turned his attention to Bianca. The grief over losing your mother has made your magic stronger, the high priestess said to Bianca. Her firm tone rang through the air. I'm not sure how I feel about you being so bold while your powers are out of control. Bianca's fingers curled into tense fists at her side. My apologies, Your Highness. Merrick hid a smile. She didn't sound that apologetic. I have to go back and make sure she doesn't sound apologetic. Yeah, she doesn't. We're good. Don't get ahead of yourself just yet. The high priestess tilted her chin a little higher. You may not have reason to apologize. I spoke with everyone involved with the incident. What did they say? Bianca asked. She carried a constant edge in her voice, a note of defensiveness, akin to someone throwing a shield up before a weapon struck. How far? Okay. All the witnesses had the same story. You stopped Alvin from shooting the forest dragon. When he tried to attack you, you used magic to cause an explosion. It sent you rolling down the hill while Alvin and his accomplice were knocked out. While the high priestess and Bianca continued to speak in the background, Merrick slipped back another half step. The move positioned him more clearly in line with the doorway. From here, he saw an angle of the porch he couldn't before. Derek eyed him. Merrick ignored it. If he were smart, he'd spend his time taking mental notes, prepping how to teach such a fierce witch. Instead, he found himself wrapped up in the way she held her shoulders, the stern edge of her profile, bare feet, loose hair around her shoulders, eyes like a shale landslide, teeming with bottled power. I'm pausing it because I think I just used the word edge up here and I used it down there, and I want to make sure I didn't get a repetitive one. Yep, right there. Constant edge. The stern. How about lines? There we go. There we go. The stern lines of her profile, bare feet, loose hair around her shoulders, eyes like a shale landslide, teeming with bottled power. Certainly not what he'd expected. Well, the high priestess demanded when the silence stretched awkwardly long. Is that what happened? I believe so, Your Highness. I don't remember much. Why did you want to save that dragon? Bianca paused, then said, he hadn't done anything wrong. Killing him for being alive seemed a bit ruthless. A note suspended her tone, elevating it. The sorrow in her voice struck something in Merrick long dead, a gloomy place where his father lived, breathed, existed only in memory. Merrick hid a wince. "It's a dragon," the high priestess said, and not very gently. "Not your mother. It's a life, and I saved it according to my conscience." Her sharp tone sounded like a whip. Magic surged into the room, billowing out on broad... Sorry, the billowing went... It came too fast. So it was like billowing. Magic surged into the room, billowing out on broad wings, a racing black dragon. The flicker of concern that crossed Derek's eyes, disappearing quickly, meant he'd noticed it too. Yikes, but Bianca would be a handful. The uneasiness of the assignment peeled away, leaving him with a silent thrill of challenge. Now he understood Derek's decision. Roggenwald, Chi, Matthias, none of them could hold this teeming ball of fire. I think I just used teeming too. Yep, teeming with bottled power. Hold on, I gotta find my dictionary. Bursting. Not bursting. Multitudinous. No. Swarming, packed, overflowing. How about overflowing? There we go. None of them could hold this overflowing ball of fire. Does ball work there? Okay, this is kind of cheesy. Let's do chalice. I haven't used chalice before. Roggenwald, Chi, Matthias, none of them could hold this overflowing chalice of fire, himself included. That's not what Bianca needed. I misspelled chalice. I need an E. With her mother's death on her shoulders and rampant magic teeming... Oh, I just did teeming. Again. This one... Bursting will work. With her mother's death on her shoulders and rampant magic bursting within, she didn't need a protector to tell her what to do. She didn't need a sword. Bianca needed to get angry. Memories of his father's death streamed through his mind. The restless agony of the following days. The shell of his mind. See. The shell of his thoughts. There we go. That's better anyway. The restless agony of the following days. The shell of his thoughts, so fragile and ready to collapse. Everything felt tenuous, like living on a fault line. Sincerity filled Bianca's tone when she gently said, "I'm sorry, Your Highness. I didn't mean any disrespect." Merrick held his breath. The high priestess gave a weary nod. Her shoulders dropped. "Your conscience led you right, and I thank you for it." Bianca's head snapped back up. "What?" An imperious tone filled Mildred's voice. "You did nothing wrong in defending yourself, and you managed to save a dragon in the meantime." "But I lost control of the magic." "Yes, but you saved your own life, and possibly Camille's. Alvin admitted to your father that he planned to kill you." "He actually confessed to wanting to kill me?" "He had to." That was too close together. I mean, the sound of the voice was too close together. Mildred needs a sharper change. "He had to. Veritas is a very powerful potion, as I know you are very aware." Merrick stifled a scoff. Derek conducted Alvin's interrogation. Hadn't gone well for Alvin, according to Brotherhood chatter in the magic. "What will happen to him?" "He dies tomorrow." "Dies?" "Yes, both of them earned it. I will not allow traitors to live. Enough of the poachers. Let's talk about our plan for you. Until Miss Mabel is dead, I will fear for your safety, Bianca. Chatham Castle is not the safe place it used to be, unfortunately." Bianca's head tilted slightly to the side, causing a waterfall of hair to slide over her shoulders. Merrick felt the pulse of Derek's stare on him, but focused on the high priestess. A note of something altered Bianca's voice. The altered faltered. I felt my voice change a little bit when I said altered, so I just want to make sure it doesn't sound like the word collapsed. So I like trip over the R. It's like altered. It's really subtle, but I change it when it happens. A note of something altered Bianca's voice, hidden but still present. You aren't going to send me away, are you? Of course not. You'd be less safe anywhere else. Besides, your father has a plan of his own. Merrick's stomach churned. Here's where he locked in his fate. His position in the Brotherhood hinged on the decision of an irate young woman who thrummed with magic and the thirst for retribution. He could feel the rage in her. Derek cleared his throat as he stepped closer. He kept his attention riveted on Bianca, who observed him with a calculating stare. She's right. Ever since your mother died, your powers have grown, Bee. Mabel isn't under our control yet, which means you need to learn how to fight in order to defend yourself should the occasion arise. You have to learn something more than how to use blighters and amactos. Ooh, that's a big one. Bianca prickled like a wary cat. Her right shoulder lifted slightly. Papa, I haven't done anything to make the magic so strong. Derek nodded, glanced at the high priestess, then back. It's not your fault. It's to be expected with grieving. I thought the magic would work itself out if I gave you time to process losing your mother, but that's obviously not the case yet. Perhaps you just need more time. Bianca's head tilted down. She frowned at the floor, her profile silhouetted with agitation. Derek met Merrick's gaze. Merrick nodded, silently confirming their earlier agreement. Derek sighed. You need to be able to defend yourself from witches like Alvin, or, heaven forbid, Mabel when she shows up. The high priestess broke in. That's exactly why we asked Merrick here. I added a word. That's why we asked Merrick here. There we go. The high priestess broke in. That's why we asked Merrick here. The name echoed like an explosion. He kept his shoulders from tensing by curling his toes instead. They pressed against the walls of his leather shoes, ready to burst. Bianca's steely eyes sought Merrick. He ignored her. You have served as an apprentice to Derek for nearly 2 years, is that right? The high priestess asked. Yes, your highness. You have 3 months before the protectors can vote on whether or not they will accept you. Is that also correct? He nodded. The high priestess waved to Derek, giving him the floor. Let this person in. I'm assigning Merrick to teach you sword fighting. He'll continue with his regular duties, of course, but will also instruct you every day. Our hope is that through learning how to fight physically, you will not only learn how to protect yourself, but also give your emotions an outlet. Bianca didn't breathe, blink, or move. Her lack of response set Merrick on edge. Tension rose in his shoulders. He struggled to hide it, to not look at her. A flare of magic slid free from her, then settled. I'm trying to get rid of a her. So we have her, her, her. Let's see. Her lack of response. Tension rose in his shoulders. He struggled to hide it, to not look that direction. What's his name? To not look Bianca's direction. Okay, that's a little better. To hide it. To not look. Nope. I started at the wrong spot. Tension rose in his shoulders. He struggled to hide it, to not look Bianca's direction. A flare of magic slid free from her, then settled. Derek kept speaking, negating the building tension in the air. The magic took over you today, and you nearly harmed yourself. Since you refused to talk about your mother, we'll try giving you a physical way to express your emotions. Bianca processed what he said in silence. The stirring magic, so brilliant it... Where's friggin' teaming again? This is why audiobook narration is so amazing. You guys get way better audiobooks or books. Said in silence. The stirring magic, so brilliant it could have illuminated the office, didn't stop. A note of hesitancy rang in her response. Yes, Papa, I'll try. With a flick of her wrist, the high priestess dismissed them. Merrick spun on his heel, headed for the door before Bianca could rush ahead. He didn't want to see her eyes. Not yet. Not the response, not the questions. For some reason, she unseated him. So at the end of the chapter, your tone kind of needs to like close the chapter out. For some reason, she unseated him. I think it's okay. My emphasis is a little different, but I think it works. Right. Chapter 2. Chapter 2. Heck yeah. Chapter 2. We are 2. Boom. Chapter 2. We doing this. Chapter 2. Weeks later. Merrick paced across the trail. Leadham wood unfolded in drapes of ivy, foliage, and boughs too big to make sense. The greenery held its own zest of life. The protectors had required him to hone his magical detection skills until his ability to sense it became a weapon itself. I have a misspelling. Oh my gosh, there's teamed again, you guys. Brimmed. Did I do brimmed? We did bursting. Swarmed. Does that work? No, it needs to go magic. Swarmed it. There we go. A weapon itself. The forest? Magic swarmed it. A snap in the distance drew his attention higher. Instead of streaming black hair and a stubborn scowl, he saw only the same damp trail. Where are you? Oh, we can do this with his accent. This is the one. So, I gotta switch Merrick in my head. Where are ya? Where are you, be? Och, little troublemaker. Okay, so if I say little troublemaker, I can get back into Merrick. Little troublemaker. Where are ya? Got it. Where are ya? He growled, not bothering to hide the burr of his voice. Changing his accent so no one knew he came from the north constantly annoyed him. It felt like a lie. At least it did now that he knew Bianca. For weeks now, she'd tolerated his assigned routine with some grumbling, but an impressive amount of willingness. No matter how much footwork, wood chopping, push-ups, running, heavy lifting he demanded, Bianca rose to the occasion. The exercise tempered her savage magic, and the skill work gave her mind something to think about. She should be here. She constantly skirted the forest after their training sessions, and today had been particularly brutal. Carrying stones to the top of the turret, wooden sword work. That sentence doesn't make sense. He made her carry, then practice. There we go. Today had been particularly brutal. He made her carry stones to the top of the turret, then practice wooden sword work. The physical exertion tired her, but she refused to admit it. Her stubbornness made her nose wrinkle into a deeper glare that amused him greatly. He expected her an hour ago, and she still hadn't shown. Where had she gone? After the incident with the dragon in Leadham Wood, he'd been more careful around her than ever. Derek would be furious if something happened. Concern led to faster pacing, whirling thoughts. He couldn't help but feel that something was wrong. When it came right down to it, he looked forward to their lessons. Several times, he may have trained her longer than strictly necessary, just to see what she'd do or say next. That, he muttered, is an enormous problem. Okay, I have to fix this. And then remember chi. I think it's issue in Chatham City. Clive started a rally and it's growing. I'm pretty sure that's chi. Issue in Chatham City. Is it lower?
The mortals are moved with magic when they are in harm's way or injured. Mortals to the south and southeast corners. Mortals to the south and southeast corners. Came Chi's low, steady voice.
Okay, I think I got it. I don't have enough. There. Issue in Chatham City, Chi said through the Brotherhood magic. Clive started a rally and it's growing. Shoot, I don't have Zane. Gotta do new voice. That's not new. I'll just do something really. I think Zane speaks like twice. That's not new. That's not new. That's not new. I'll do it really low. Okay, let's try this. That's not new, Zane said. Bianca is there. Merrick's stomach flipped over. Where? He asked. The corner by the blacksmith in the middle. I'm on it. Good luck, it's... Merrick started a transportation spell before Chi finished and dove into the magic. The frantic emotions shoved him to downtown Chatham City faster than usual. In a blink, he stood amid a harried crowd. Witches ringed the area, packed shoulder to shoulder. Behind him, guardians called out as they moved into position. The crowd had an odd stillness with so much energy. You guys, it's like the 8th time I've used teaming. So much. Let's do suppressed. Oh, this is so good. Moved into position. The crowd had an odd stillness with so much suppressed energy. The only spot that moved was 30 paces away, an open ring formed by witches. In the middle, a hint of black hair appeared. Bianca. She struggled against several witches attempting to pin her down. Camille and Michelle clawed closer, screaming Bianca's name. An explosion of white rippled from the spot where Bianca fought. Bodies fell. Witches cried out. Wind burst with it, shoving through the crowd. His heart stopped. Merrick transported to the same spot. Witches pedaled out on the ground, groaning. Bianca lay in the middle, eyes screwed shut, arms over her face in a defensive position. Blood dripped from her hands. He leaped over one of the fallen witches, reached for her. No response came as he grabbed her wrist. I've got Bianca. Her eyes flew open. Seeing him, the terrified expression calmed. He pulled her to her feet, grateful to get an arm around her. Come on, I'm here to take you back. Bianca stumbled to her feet, leaned into him. Merrick tightened his hold, eyes on the crowd. No signs of a renewed surge, no attempts to follow. He wore his half armor. Sorry, I read that wrong. No attempts to follow. He wore his half armor, more out of habit than preparation, and was glad as he shoved through the crowd. More guardians surrounded. Sorry, I just used crowd again. More guardians. More guardians arrived. There we go. There we go. Glad as he shoved through the crowd. More guardians arrived. Amongst them, he recognized Brecken's voice. He'd take care of Camille and the others. Follow me. Merrick pulled Bianca through the crowd as quickly as he could. Dodgy alleyways gave them cover from witches that might have followed. Only when they left the rally behind did his frantic heart calm. You all right? She nodded, pale. Hold on. With an arm around her shoulders, he transported them to Leadham Wood. Bianca's glazed expression receded as she glanced around, registered where they were. Understanding and relief followed. She raced away. Merrick followed her breakneck speed. In minutes, his breath strained. She pressed harder, faster. Her feet soared over the trail. Her hair flew in black streams as she dodged a root, leaped over mushrooms, flew over a stream. Sobs peeped out of her. He leaned into the exertion. The memory of her, surrounded by livid witches, would never truly leave him. He shuddered. Where are you? Derek demanded. The narrow sound of his voice meant he spoke only to Merrick. In the forest with Bee. We're running. I think her magic exploded. I'm not sure. She hasn't spoken. I brought her to Leadham Wood and she's just running. She's fine. He omitted the fact that blood smeared her hands, part of her cheek, that her terrorized gaze... Did it again. I added a T to the D. That her terrorized gaze... Gazed. Oh, that's why I added a D to the gazed. Terrorized gaze. That her terrorized gaze cut all the way to his very center, that he wanted to smash the heads of every witch that dared touch her. Derek paused. The tension in his voice eased. Bring her back here. Merrick hesitated. The last thing he wanted to do was make trouble for his protector career. But Barrick didn't... Barrick? Who the crap is Barrick? His protector career. But Bianca didn't need a confrontation right now. He had no claim on Bianca, yet he couldn't help but understand. Allow her to run, Derek. She needs it. Another heady pause. Fine. Let me know the moment she finishes. You don't leave her side. Understood. Minutes later, a rock in the trail caught Bianca's foot. A rising surge of magic followed. She stumbled, flew onto her hands and knees, and skidded across the trail with a cry. Merrick slid to a stop next to her. He put a hand on her back, between her shoulder blades. Her chest heaved up and down in gasping breaths. Bianca? She didn't respond. Her body lay limp on the trail. Gently, he squeezed her shoulder. B? No response. Where are you? He asked Derek. I'm bringing B to you. She's passed out. I don't know what happened. Bring her to the High Priestess's office now. Heart in his throat, he scooped her up, straightened, and transported away. The High Priestess, Derek, and Stella awaited. Merrick hurried through the office door, Bianca's head limp on his shoulder. Her hair stirred with each footfall, filling his nose and the scent. And the scent, it's with the scent. Her hair stirred with each footfall, filling his nose with the scent of moss and earth. The door closed behind him. Derek rushed forward. We were running, Merrick said. Once we left Chatham City, she just sprinted. I thought she needed to get some of her frustration out, so I stayed with her. Then I felt a burst of magic and she fell. I couldn't get her to wake up. Derek pulled Bianca from his arms. Merrick let her go, watching her slack expression, pale face, with a falsely calm front. Derek lay her on a divan near the fire. Mildred watched from behind her desk with a flinty stare. Martin stood at Bianca's side, wide-eyed and pale. He stepped close, fixated on Bianca. Stella bustled over. Stella. I think she has a high-pitched voice. Oh no. I have to have Stella. How do I not have Stella? Okay, so I just have to find a quick snippet of Stella's voice from the Martin audiobook. I always have their voices. I don't know why I don't have Stella. If you haven't read Martin, there might be spoilers.
In the cottage, a trickle of sweat dribbled down Mildred's reddened face.
Oh, you guys probably
livid as a
can't hear
bulldog in
anyway.
the summer. She gasped, "Take it before. I cannot." With deft hands, the midwife twice tied, then severed the
just to make
cord
sure
that bound the
that what
baby
I
to his
think is
mother.
right is right.
She wrapped the child in clean cloth and passed him to Stella. Tears sparkling in her eyes, Stella swept into the other room, the bustle of her skirts fading into the evening air.
This is my son's
Martin
Minecraft.
gripped Mildred and the brittle word startled him. He blinked out of his thoughts, looked down. For the first time in what felt like hours, Mildred peered at him, sweating that not even he could argue away. Steps, he backed up, faltered. Walls stocked with food, flour, dried hanging herbs, and clean glass jars filled each side. A lamp and a few small candles on plates, set strategically around of life stirring beneath the blanket in her throat. A boy. She laughed softly, a tear dripping down her cheek. A beautiful boy. Martin, you have a son.
She's breathy. Okay, that's Stella. She's breathy. Did she hit her head? That's Stella. Well, now I have to do a Stella one. Stella bustled over. Did she hit her head? No, at least I don't think so. Sorry. Sometimes it's hard to switch between three voices. Did she hit her head? No, at least I don't think so. Probably the intensity of her magic. Call for an apothecary, Martin. Okay. Let's do this again. I'm ready. Did she hit her head? No, at least I don't think so. Probably the intensity of her magic, the High Priestess muttered. That girl runs hotter than a tea kettle. Call for an apothecary, Martin, Stella said. I want to... No, Mildred snapped. It's not in her best interest to involve anyone else right now. We wait. I don't know what trouble she stirred up this time, and I don't want information or rumors spreading yet. We'll have enough of a mess to clean up. You can take care of her, Stell." Stella opened her mouth to protest, hesitated, and capitulated with a nod. She opened a palm, and several vials soared across the room, landing in her hand. Her fingers wrapped around them as she considered the labels on the outside. "Give your report of what happened to the High Priestess." Grateful to look at anyone but Derek, Merrick obeyed, starting from waiting in the forest until this moment. Once he finished, Mildred muttered something, but Merrick couldn't make it out. Just let some people in real quick. "You're dismissed." Mildred waved a hand. "Stella, give her smelling salts. We need to fix this now. Derek, stay here. Martin, you may go." A moment of hesitation stole across Martin's face, but he nodded. "Martin," Derek said, "please escort Merrick to the gatehouse. Merrick, I'll be there to speak with you shortly." A knot formed at the bottom of "Speak with you shortly." A knot formed at the bottom of Merrick's chest when Martin joined at his side. Together, they strode toward the door. Merrick suppressed the urge to look back. All right, so we are done with chapter 2. Oh, sweet sassy. We're halfway through. So we did, oh, perfect. So we did half in under, I think we started around 7:15 my time. So we've been going about 50 minutes. So I think we're on track. I'm warmed up and going now. It takes me like 4 pages to really get going. So let's do this. To chapter 3. This is a good one. Look, you can see that little, like right there. That's because I just hit the board. I just hit it with my thumb. Chapter 3. The head of Protector's office rang with silence. Not even the gatehouse stirred, though it usually droned with guardians, captains, and the annoying sound of Tiberius's ringing baritone. Today, all fell into a sullen, waiting racket of nothing. He paced, started a fire, sat back down, attempted to figure out what Derek might say, but ended up walking mental circles that made him more anxious. By the time the door slammed open, Merrick had convinced himself he'd lost his slot and had to return home. Dismissal would agonize him, but not as much as the questions about Bianca that would follow. Had she woken up? Was she all right? Would he ever forget her terrified expression? Derek strode inside, shut the door behind him, and crossed the room. He dropped into his chair and leaned forward, elbows propped on his knees. The mossy eyes, intense questions, and skewed hair painted a damnable picture for Merrick's prospects. I think I rushed the P's. Yeah, I went painted to, like I kind of stuttered the T-E-D. The mossy eyes, intense questions, and skewed hair painted a damnable picture for Merrick's prospects. Finally, Derek straightened. Where were you when all of it started? In the forest, trying to find her. Sir, I swear. Oh, he sounds like Derek too much. In the forest, trying to find her. There we go. In the forest, trying to find her. Sir, I swear, I didn't know she left with her. Oh, I did it again. That was too much Derek. Sir, I swear. In the forest, trying to find her. Sir, I swear, I didn't know she left with her friends. I had to do a few things to finish a competency test with Zane. As soon as I wrapped that up, I searched for her. Derek's upper lip twitched. He dropped his gaze, pulled in a mighty breath, and let it back out. I promised you it wasn't a babysitting mission, and it isn't. Bianca is hard enough for me to keep track of, and I'm her father. I'm not upset that you didn't know she was there. She has to bear her own responsibility. Consolation swept through him. Yes, sir. At least you removed her in time. Not quite. Her magic overcame her, and the crowd deserved what they got, after what they said about Marie. He trailed away, then shook his head. A gaunt expression and low-lighted glare highlighted Derek's frustration. Bee won't be in trouble, will she? Maybe she shouldn't have been there, but from what little I could see, she'd been defending herself. No, she's not in trouble. Merrick relaxed, but didn't enjoy the way Derek considered him with deeper study. Hesitance laced his inquiring tone. How have things been with Bianca, Merrick? I gotta turn this question marker, or this quotation around. There we go. My B is a little too strong right there. Bianca, Merrick. How have things been with Bianca, Merrick? Progressive. She's motivated and sharp. She complains, but does everything that I ask. I've seen growth in a lot of areas. I put too much R. Growth. I've seen growth. I've seen growth in a lot of areas. Grip strength, footwork, general awareness of how to use her body with a weapon. She works hard and has a natural intensity in the sparring ring. I'm impressed. I expected her to be annoying. That was annoying. Annoying. I gotta let's see. How have things been with Bianca? Annoying? There we go. Annoying? Well, Merrick almost said, she can be that. Weak, he said instead. I thought she'd be younger and weaker, but she's not. She's strong. Derek's gaze tapered. Burning interest caught Merrick's attention. What are your feelings toward my daughter? That she's progressing, sir. That's not a feeling. It's a statement. Exactly. Sweat collected in Merrick's palms. He resisted the urge to wipe them off on top of his pants. I'm not sure I understand the question, sir. What are your feelings toward my daughter? Derek repeated, more slowly this time. Merrick's heart galloped in his chest. I feel that she's progressing well with sword work, sir. And nothing else? No. Derek leaned back, his bearing a little too casual and easy, one eyebrow lifted higher in quiet suggestion. Not attractions, surely. Merrick swallowed the growing lump in his throat. Shikes, but how was that for straightforward? Attraction, sir? Yes. Are you attracted to my daughter? I don't think I like that. Are you attracted to my daughter? Yes. Are you attracted to my daughter? That's better. That's a weird cadence. Yes. Are you attracted to my daughter? I've come this far toward my goal to be a protector, sir. I won't let anything mess that up. Though true, it encompassed none of the truth. The corners of Derek's lip twitched, but not with amusement. You didn't answer my question, Merrick. Which one? Are you attracted to my daughter? The honest reply sat in his throat and gummed everything up. Your daughter is fierce and brave, and lets nothing stop her. I'd be a fool not to be attracted to her raw spirit, he thought. Sorry, I can't. I have to get regular Merrick in here somewhere because it's so hard to picture him without his accent. So in his thoughts, I might have to go back and re-record, but in his thoughts, my plan was to do his Northern Network accent just to kind of remind people what's going on in the story. Let's see if that went okay. Unless nothing stop her. Okay, it's better. It's better. Spirit. He forced himself to keep Derek's hard... That was a weird Derek. Derek. He forced himself to keep Derek's hard stare. I enjoy being with her, sir, but have never acted on a romantic inclination. Almost true. If Derek carried this a step farther and asked, yet again, if he had romantic inclinations, well, he couldn't lie. Derek held his gaze for so long the edges blurred. Merrick thought he'd fallen into a time lapse. The world paused. The sun halted. Everything funneled to this exact moment. Derek shattered the strange vacuum of time. Make me a promise, Merrick. Sir? Guarantee me that you won't become romantically involved with my daughter. Merrick's breath stalled. He stared, at first unable to make sense out of the words. Sir, I expect a straightforward response, Merrick, and there's only one correct answer. You simply say, yes, sir, I promise. Answer instead. Oh, there's people waiting. Make sure everyone's in. Okay. More than the tangled knot of emotions in his chest, an instant refusal bubbled to the surface, a repulsion to such a command. Merrick didn't want to agree. Not at all. Cripes, but he'd made a muck of things. The Brotherhood will conduct... That started funny. The Brotherhood. The Brotherhood will conduct a vote in 2 months over whether you deserve to be a protector, Derek growled. Are you really willing to risk all that you've worked for over a crush on an impetuous young girl that can't control her magic? Merrick mentally wheeled. Did Derek threaten his position in the Brotherhood because of his feelings for Bianca? Yes. Suddenly, he saw everything with pristine clarity. Derek Black, the most respected, powerful witch in the Brotherhood, perhaps the central network, was frightened for his daughter. The truth made the reality of his situation a little easier to bear, though he had no intention of giving up now, not on the Brotherhood, nor Bianca. Finesse was required. May I ask you a different question, sir? Derek paused, then waved a hand. Bianca aside, do you feel I've proven myself worthy of the Brotherhood? Yes. Do you think I would make a strong addition to the Brotherhood in a time when no other recruits have survived? Sensing a trap, Derek slowly nodded. Last question. Would you prevent a proven, beneficial member of the Brotherhood from supporting the other brothers, the Central Network, and the High Priestess, because you're afraid I have a crush on your daughter? Derek turned to his statue. Sensing his only opening, Merrick pressed harder. If you have proof that Bianca or I have given... I'm starting to slip into Merrick. I rolled my R too much. If you have any proof that Bianca... Oh my gosh. I hate it when this happens. If you have proof that Bianca or I have given any affection or attention to each other outside of the friendship that you tasked me to form, then I would be interested to see or hear about it. Silence fell. Heart in his throat, Merrick continued. Given that you've proffered none, I wonder what the Brotherhood would think of your decision to oust me from their ranks because of a suspicion around your daughter that you have no proof to support. You're correct, sir. There is a vote. The brothers can vote however they want, regardless of what pressure you may apply. I'm concerned that, should the Brotherhood find out about this conversation, it's not my reputation that will suffer. For several eternities, Derek regarded Merrick with an expression like glass, not a fracture, not a crack, formed in the solid veneer. Merrick swallowed the rising nausea, the terror. He just attempted to verbally trap the witch he admired the most, a man whom not even the High Priestess could hold on a leash. Derek Black. The good gods. Derek's hard-as-rock exterior slowly eased, life restored in his unmoving figure. His jaw tightened as he rubbed his lips together. Well, I believe I've just been chastised. Merrick stifled the terrified apology that rose in his throat. Indeed, he had chastised Derek, but there would be no respect. There we go. Hold on. Wrong spot. Oh my gosh, sorry, I missed the spot. There we go. Need to move back a little. The rose in his throat. Indeed, he had chastised Derek, but there would be no respect for him if he apologized now. He held firm, lips sealed. Until this moment, Merrick, I wasn't sure whether you really belonged in the Brotherhood. You've just proven to me that you do, considering the mettle and quick thinking that diplomatic response required. I suppose I deserve the chastisement. Forgive me. It's not my place to tell the brothers what to think. I'm frightened for Bianca. Very frightened. I want the best for her in everything, and there's so little I can give her since... He trailed away. His cheeks puffed as he blew out a breath, ran a hand through his hair. I apologize. Merrick nodded once. Derek's eyebrow lifted as he regarded Merrick with a wry study. Regardless, stay away from my daughter. Allow her space to grieve. A hollow, ashy taste filled his mouth as Merrick nodded. That he could agree to. Stay away and space to grieve had fluid definitions. With that promise on the line, he could say the words Derek wanted. I slurred those. He could say the words Derek wanted to hear without jeopardizing the rising respect and admiration for a most unexpected witch. I promise. Good. Is she ready for the sword yet? No. His immediate rebuttal brought an eyebrow lift. She's still not in control of her emotions enough, sir. Can you imagine if she'd had a sword today? With a grumbling assent, Derek ran a hand over his face with a weary sigh. Hopefully soon, then. And maybe this'll work out after all. The High Priestess restricted Bianca to castle grounds for her own safety, which will make her easier to track. The High Priestess dealt with Clive, too. Oh, she wants to speak to you now. Fudged that. Oh, she wants to speak to you now. Sorry. This thing is something else. Clive, too. Oh, she wants to speak to you now. Merrick's head snapped up. Sorry, sir? Derek suppressed a smile as he lowered into his chair again. The High Priestess wants to see you. I'd go now if I were you. Get it over with. I have no idea what she's going to say. Derek's confrontation had been alarming, but the High Priestess had Derek beat for intimidation. Her austere eyes regarded Merrick as he crossed her office and stood several paces away from her desk. He'd freshened up his half-armor, yanked on new boots, and pulled his hair back into a braid before he returned. None of it mattered. Mildred. It'd be funny to call her Mildred. Mildred peered past all that and into the marrow of his soul. A bone cleaver. Oh, let's do this. We can put a little Dylan in it. We'll get a little Dylan in there. Have I done Dylan before? Yeah.
We were never meant to exist alone. Dylan.
Okay. And into the marrow of his soul. A bone cleaver, his father would say, the type of witch that understood almost everything at first glance. He waited. Mildred studied. Finally, she said, Bianca is an impulsive witch, difficult to track, and she wears her emotions like a trumpet. She's not frightened enough by half, and I don't envy your job of helping her. She spoke succinctly, with a slightly driven tone to her voice, as if she had other things to do. She paused, lips pursed, as if she sorted through further questions, then continued. I want to give you some advice about dealing with her. Yes, Your Highness. I believe you have some experience with grief. His throat nearly closed. How did she know? Yes? Surprise registered in a flicker of an eyebrow. Ah, she hadn't known. She'd tested. Smooth talker for a gravelly old woman. Who have you lost? My father. How old? 12. Wasn't deep enough. 12. She made a sound in her throat. Her voice softened ever so slightly. I'm sorry. I know the pain. My parents died when I was young. Since you know the process of grief, I won't extrapolate further. At this point, I believe Bianca needs to get out of her own way. Your Highness? Remind her, Merrick, she said in exasperation. Emotions are power. You know this. She's fighting them and they're fighting back. She's attempting to wrestle her rage and fear, and it's not working. Tell her to stop it. Then be patient with her emotions. They want acknowledgement, not battle. But her magic will probably settle when she does. I believe she's unnecessarily ramping her emotions higher by not letting them go. He paused. Of course. Why hadn't he seen it before? Vividly, he recalled the press of anxiety in his chest after his father died, the obsession to see him one more time. Bianca runs, correct? You run with her? Almost every day. When she will. She says that running is... Sorry, it sounds funny. Almost every day, when she will. She says that running exacerbates the lacking control of the magic. Almost every day, when she will. She says that running exacerbates the lacking control of the magic. The high priestess stared past him, then blinked out of deeper thoughts. Probably because she feels safe in the forest, so the emotions rise. She grew up in Leadham Wood. I see. Mildred's Mildred's rigid thoughts eased. I stand by my advice. She'll just have to walk through the darkness and understand she'll survive. We all do. I did that too quick. But understand like stuttered together. Mildred's rigid thoughts eased. I stand by my advice. She'll just have to walk through the darkness and understand she'll survive. We all do. This is her path to trod. Be patient with her, Merrick. She's destined for great things if we all survive. Bianca will figure it out. Help her get out of her own way. It'll happen faster. What you're doing has nothing to do with training or swords. It has everything to do with emotions and the power we give them. Yes, Your Highness. Not to mention an upcoming vote with the Brotherhood and an overprotective head of protectors that never should have had a daughter. Success in this endeavor will entirely cement your career. The unwelcome reminder made him want to grind his molars together. What would Mildred say if she knew he bested Derek in a verbal battle, while simultaneously leaving the door open for a future with Bianca? A future that, until tonight, he hadn't realized he wanted. Thank you, Your Highness. You may go. Report directly to me if you have any concerns. Of course, you must tell Derek if anything happens, but sometimes he doesn't know what's good for him either. Oh yeah, another chapter going. This pace is really, really good. We're doing really good. Chapter 5. Is it really chapter 5? I didn't skip a What? This is chapter 4. Why is that so big? That is not chapter 5. Right? Did I miss chapter 4 somewhere? Okay. I had it wrong. That's chapter 5. We got 2 more chapters left. 2 more chapters left. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Nope. Chapter 4. Several months later. The harried bustle of Chatham Castle carried a restless energy into every hallway. Outside, closer to Chatham City, torches and buildings blazed from the ongoing battle between Factios members and gypsies. Witches fled the threat of Westguard invasion. Dragons soared overhead, their plumes of fire stretching like superheated banners. Merrick slipped through Derek's open office door in the castle, jaw clenched as he thought about the summons he'd just received through the Brotherhood magic. My office, now. He thought he'd be less stressed after becoming an official member of the Brotherhood when Derek stepped away to become High Priest, then Highest Witch. I kind of put a weird pause there. He thought he'd be less stressed after becoming an official member of the Brotherhood when Derek stepped away to become High Priest, then Highest Witch. Though Merrick had filled the hole that Derek left in the Brotherhood, Derek hadn't truly left. Months as a brother, and Merrick still waited that release of pressure. If anything, the unrelenting force had grown. Angelina prowled around Alcara and incited the Factios to attack witches constantly, which certainly didn't help matters. Brotherhood chatter had been frantic since the Southern Network attacked across their wall and shattered the Mansfeld Pact. Across their wall and shattered the Mansfeld Pact, inciting the Central Network to outright war. Merrick had been busy assisting Guardians, spying on the South, and stepping in as brothers requested help. Merrick closed Derek's door behind him, heart in his throat, and cursed the fact that he should be back here again. Derek waited behind his desk, legs braced. A livid expression filled his haggard face. Had he just returned from fighting the South Guards in the Southern Covens? The soot, blood, and sweat on his face, and half armor. That's weird. We gotta redo that one. The soot, blood, and sweat on his face and half armor indicated a battle somewhere. That's a weird sentence. The soot, blood, and sweat on his... I'm just going to take half armor out. That'll flow better. Southern Covens? The soot, blood, and sweat on his face indicated a battle somewhere. Derek straightened, looming with dirty half armor and an irate press of lips. This is the last time I'm going to ask this question, and I will tolerate nothing but a yes or a no. Do you have feelings for my daughter? Merrick paused, sucker punched in the gut. What? The world unfolded in chaos and war, and this is what Derek wanted to know? Something didn't add up. He stopped himself from looking for Bianca at the last minute. Sir? Yes or no? An implacably cool expression concealed Derek's thoughts. It was impossible to read him. Merrick hesitated, then realized he had no choice. Yes, I have feelings for Bianca. Derek blinked, registered that for a breath. You've denied it before. Was it true then? Merrick held his breath, his life suspended in front of him. Had he just washed his life in the Brotherhood away? Oh, we gotta use career. We have life twice. And then I wanna move this paragraph there. Suspended in front of him. Had he just washed his career in the Brotherhood away? Had he given it up? Probably. He didn't feel regret, none of that. He worried for Bianca instead. Had she said something? Did something happen? The broiling undertones in Derek's stance, and the sense that the high priest walked a razor-thin edge of control, set Merrick's hair on edge. I never lied to you, nor denied it. A knock issued on the door. Derek lifted his head and sucked in a breath through his nose. Come in, Bee. Bianca slipped inside, the smell of wild things accompanying her. He could feel her raucous magic across the room. Something bothered her. Her wary eyes tracked him, then Derek. Memories of their recent conversation slipped by, quick as darting foxes. You run with me, he had said. Her quiet voice, filled with such intensity, replied, Yes, I guess I do. Then the moment he revealed his secret to her, the moment he couldn't deny if Derek asked him about it. I won't betray your father, Bee. I can't do this. I promised him. But you need to know that I would if I could. Oh, how I would. Their mutual admittance of interest meant something. The crash of all his career plans, his hard work, his position in the Brotherhood, maybe even the Masters. Bianca's gaze darted from Merrick to Derek, then returned. Hey. Merrick avoided looking directly at her, despite the urge to assess how she really felt. Her eyes gave her away, traitorous windows into her truculent soul. Merry meet, Papa, she said carefully. Quiet reigned. Merrick kept his head down, stared at his toes. By feel, he tracked the movements of the room. Bianca stood before Derek's desk. Derek remained behind it, a brooding, wrathful presence. Bianca opened her mouth to speak again, but the creak of the door interrupted her. Stella and Zane stepped into the room. His breath caught. Zane? An ally? Zane crossed the room until he stood just behind Merrick's right shoulder. He didn't say a word, but the closer-than-usual proximity spoke worlds. Based on the tense way Zane stood, he, too, sensed Derek's displeasure. Ooh, I messed up displeasure. There's something up here. There. Based on the... Dang it. Worlds. Based on the tense way Zane stood, he, too, sensed Derek's displeasure. Thank you for waiting, Derek, Stella said. You may begin whenever you like. Merrick risked a hasty glance up. As expected, Bianca's stormy hair lay loose around her shoulders, lips twisted in confusion. Stella stood within arm's reach. Bianca glanced at her in silent question. Stella shook her head a little, as if to say, later, and gave a wooden smile. Thank you for coming. Bianca, I ask you to come so I can hear from your point of view what happened in Leadham Wood yesterday evening. Begin. Bianca swallowed, hesitating. Okay. We were out for a run. I found a new trail and decided to take it. We ended up stumbling on the West Guards. Sana and Zane told you the rest. Oh, yes. They'd been running all right. Merrick tried to stop her, didn't feel right, but she persisted. Her expanding magic had concerned him. They stumbled into a group of West Guards. Sana descended with dragons, and it felt as if the world had cracked open with violence and fire. Derek turned to face him. And you went with her? Derek met his stolid gaze and nodded. Bianca stepped forward. Papa, I didn't ask you. I asked Merrick. We went out for a run, sir, just as Bianca said. Even though I ordered you to stay away from my daughter? Yes, sir. Bianca shoved away from Stella. You ordered him to stay away from me? Papa! This doesn't concern you, Bianca. Stay out of it. It most certainly does concern me. Merrick and I went on a run. That's it. He was doing me a favor. It's not like we kissed or... You are not a part of this. Derek slammed a fist on the desk. I gotta check my noise levels. If I talk too loud, it'll cut out. Okay. The S at the end of this is like S, so I'll redo the Derek lining. We'll keep going. You are not a part of this. Derek slammed a fist on the desk. Zane scooted forward a step, while Stella shifted closer to Bianca. Zane wouldn't feel the need to protect Merrick. The good gods, he hoped not, or he had no reputation in the Brotherhood. But he might feel obligated to stop Derek from doing something rash. This situation continued to spiral. As expected, Bianca rose to the occasion with matching stubbornness. Yes, I am. I'm the reason we were out there. I talked Merrick into taking me for a run. He didn't want me to go, but I had to. Back and forth, father and daughter parried. Bianca snarled. Derek fumed. Merrick wanted to close his eyes, kiss his future away, but forced himself to stare at Derek. Then he wouldn't have to see Bianca crumbling. Her magic, fraught with energy, ready to break. No! Derek roared. I told both of you how I felt, and both of you went against my wishes. I gotta redo that one. I told both of you how I felt, and both of you went against my wishes. Both of you went against my... There we go. I told both of you how... Oh, I started it. There's a little blip of sound. There we go. I told both of you how I felt, and both of you went against my wishes. The sudden appearance of Zane in front of him tied Merrick's stomach into knots. Cripes, but what would Zane to have... Cripes, but what would Zane have to say about this strange situation? Merrick had feelings for the High Priest's daughter that he admitted out loud. A right disaster. Zane spoke in an even tone. Your Highness, I believe Merrick was trying his best to keep your daughter safe. Stay out of this, Zane. I'm 17, Papa. You can't protect me forever. I bloody well can. I'm always in danger, Papa. Always. I've faced West Guards twice now. But you didn't even know about the first time, did you? No, because you're too busy working to even remember that I'm still here. Derek's entire body locked. Merrick let out a breath. Now she'd done it. Derek's eyes tapered. Derek's eyes tapered to flinty slashes, his tone a carefully controlled question. What? When did you face the West Guards before last night? Bianca hesitated, then plowed forward. I've faced dragons before too, but nothing happened to me last night. The forest protected me. Merrick protected me. I protected me. Bianca dug both of them into an ever-widening hole. Derek would never forgive him. Now his life teetered on the edge of an irate father, arguably the most powerful witch in Alcara, and an impetuous young woman. Merrick didn't want to go, Bianca continued, drawing him from his thoughts. He even tried to convince me otherwise. He tried to keep us on the main trail. He did nothing wrong. I'll take responsibility, Papa. This is all my fault. Punish me, not him. Merrick closed his eyes and hung his head. Shut up, Bee! He wanted to snap. You damn well better believe you're going to take responsibility for disobeying me. You followed a magical impulse into a part of Leadham Wood you've never been. Sorry, I went way too high. Let me find a different ones. When did you face the West Guards before last night? When did you face the West Guards? You damn well better believe you're going to take responsibility for disobeying me. You followed a magical impulse into a part of Leadham Wood you've never been. I think I've got it. You damn well better believe you're going to take responsibility for disobeying me. You followed a magical impulse into a part of Leadham Wood you've never been? He pivoted toward Merrick. And you let her? Merrick opened his mouth to reply, but Bianca intercepted. If he ever spoke to her again, they'd discuss letting him defend himself. The escalating argument filled the room with lightning-like tension. Merrick kept his shoulders back, expecting an attack at any moment. Bianca shrank away, Stella's hand on her shoulder. It was just a run. Leadham Wood protected me. Stella coaxed Bianca behind her. Derek, I know you're scared for Bianca, but perhaps we should talk about this after you've had some time to think it out. Both of you are under an incredible amount of stress, especially now. Go to the apartment, Bianca. I need to redo that one. Go to the apartment, Bianca, he commanded. Merrick stared. He stared hard. Go to the apartment, Bianca, he commanded. Merrick stared hard at the accumulated dust in the seams of the stones at his feet. Tiny pebbles filled the gaps. His heart banged a hard staccato under his half-armor. Suddenly, everywhere else felt like the best place to be. The Southern Covens, fighting the Factios in the alleys of Chatham City. Anywhere. Go, Bianca. Let him cool off, Stella whispered. Trust me. Bianca slipped by, barely making a noise. He couldn't look at her, and felt his cowardice all the way to his bones. Her gaze bore into his back. She wanted him to look. He didn't. Couldn't. He'd come apart in a fit of irritation and wrath. Bianca left. Zane put a hand on Merrick's shoulder. Derek hadn't moved, a pillar against the backdrop of the High Priest's office. Stella motioned them out with a silent tilt of her head. Zane steered him toward the door. Sorry, I have to swallow, but the microphone will pick up my swallow, so I have to stop it to swallow. In the hallway, Merrick couldn't open his clenched fingers. He strode next to Zane and attempted to calm himself. He tried to stretch his clamped fists, his jaw, felt the blood drain from his numb fingertips. In all his life, he'd never worked so hard to keep his control reined. My office, Zane said. Merrick transported. He landed in the gatehouse a second after Zane. Zane shut the door, turned around, and swept a hand out. Well, explain yourself. It's my fault. Zane lifted an eyebrow. Merrick turned away. He ran a hand through his hair, sank into a nearby chair. The collective strain left him all at once. He dropped his head into his hands. Bianca, I've been training with her, even after she learned how to control her magic better. Well, a little better anyway. I've done everything Derek asked. He can't be angry about that. No, he's livid because I developed feelings for her. Zane, I care about Bianca more than I should. I promised him I'd leave her alone while she grieved. He thinks that I won't involve myself with her, but I will. I would. A strangled noise issued from Zane. Merrick kept going. She made it so much worse tonight. She should have let me speak for myself. I could handle it. I could at least explain. He shot to his feet, paced. Zane stepped behind the desk, out of his way. A silent question lingered in the air. What? Zane seemed to ask. What could you have explained? Merrick had no answer. Nothing. He couldn't explain his reason for being here, nor the way he felt about Bianca when they weren't together. Certainly not any plan for how to fix this, because it had become a muddied mess without escape. She certainly didn't make it easier on you, Zane agreed evenly, but her arguments are no less valid. Derek is under an immense amount of strain, and he seems to be coming apart at the seams. Quiet followed. Wait, what? Did Zane just defend Bianca? You think Derek is in the wrong? Yes. By the good gods, could this be real? In the ensuing silence, Merrick found his mind again. He leaned his elbows on his knees, propped his head in his hands, and forced himself to think. The same thought circled through his mind over and over. Have I lost my spot, Zane? Zane, sitting now in his chair, said quietly, Not as long as I lead the Brotherhood, no. You're a fool to fall for the High Priest's daughter, Merrick, but you're a fool that did as he was asked. Bianca's alive, for now. As far as I'm concerned, mission success. Your job right now is to avoid Derek. Let him cool off. If Stella can reason with him, if we can stop this idiotic war, then we'll deal with the situation. For now, we stay calm and continue on. Relief didn't taste. Oh, here we go. Relief didn't taste as good as he'd hoped. Last chapter! Woo, woo, woo. Okay. We got this, you guys. We got this. This last chapter is actually pretty easy. It's not quite as emotional. Let's see, we've got 4 pages, y'all. Chapter 5. It's chapter 5. Chapter 5. Chapter 5. After Bianca battles Angelina in The High Priest's Daughter. Reeves stared at Merrick down a long nose. His Highness isn't taking visitors. I should probably double check that. I'm pretty sure that's Reeves. Don't I have a Reeves? Oh, I guess I don't. Oh yeah, I didn't narrate the network series, so we will make a Reeves file. I'm not a visitor, I'm a brother. And one day, he thought, I want to be so much more. With a pinched look, Reeves considered that. He sucked in a vexed breath, but widened the open door. Merrick stepped inside. Is Bee here? Reeves hesitated, then shook his head. Miss Bianca is on her way back. Nope, that sounds like Hiddleston. Miss Bianca is on her way back. Miss Sana has sent a message. They're on a dragon. A dragon? Merrick shook his head. Of course. Bianca's healthy? According to recent reports, Sana plans to transport the 3 of them back once they are closer, and she can sustain the magical requirement. For now, the dragon flies. I'm gonna do this Reeves voice file real quick. I can cut snippets out and then just export those few seconds and then put them as the voice files. Is it possible to transport a dragon? He thought. Let me check this transition. Okay, that's good. Is it possible to transport a dragon? Merrick decided not to ask that. With Sana and dragons and magical expectation, one never knew. Can I wait until she returns? A deep, weary voice came from the left. Yes, you can wait with me. Merrick whirled, startled to see Derek sitting on a divan, his forearms propped on his thighs, a ragged expression on his face. He rubbed a hand over bloodshot eyes. Oh, I thought I had already used eyes, but it's thighs, because eyes and thighs rhyme. That's funny. Over bloodshot eyes. Derek definitely hadn't been sitting there when Reeves first opened the door. He probably made himself invisible to avoid speaking to anyone. Thank you, sir. A tenuous air, loaded with pressure, stretched between them as Reeves shuffled away. Their meeting with Bianca, Stella, and Zane the previous day had resulted in a series of events that led them to here. Derek met with Dane in the Western Network, where Angelina took him prisoner. Bianca, finding out, sprang Mabel free from the dungeons and bargained with her own life to free Derek. Meanwhile, attacks against the Central Network had continued from the Factios and the Southern and Western networks. Rumors ran rampant through the castle. Updates from Zane had been the only certainty Merrick had, and those had been sparse. Now, Bianca had battled Angelina and survived. Angelina, according to reports, hadn't. For some reason, Sana tied herself up in this as well, and maybe Isadora. They had been somewhere in the Eastern Network at the time. It was all they knew. Derek cleared his throat. "I'm sorry, Merrick." Merrick startled to the present again. "Sir? I overreacted in my office. Stella and Zane and, the good gods help me, Bianca, have helped me realize..." Sorry, just changing a repetitive word. "The good gods help me, Bianca, have made me realize that I owe you gratitude. Bianca is difficult to handle. I forget how stubborn she can be. I became so wrapped up in saving the network, I forgot to save her." A wry smile removed some of the gravity from Derek's words. Merrick strubbled. He strubbled, y'all. He strubbled. Merrick struggled to keep up. "Thank you, sir. An apology isn't..." "It is. It is." "It is, and I'm not done yet." Merrick pressed his lips back together. Could this day get any stranger? Derek stood with a wince, pulled in another breath. His pale skin looked ragged. Bags lay under his eyes like old bruises. "When I asked you to stay away from my daughter, I only had her best interests in mind. She's 17. I'm not used to her being an adult, or trying to, at any rate. There are some things I've held on to too tightly, and her ability to grow into a young woman is one of them." Derek scrubbed a hand through his hair, looking like a lost guardian. "Because of my position in the Brotherhood, I've had to grapple often with the idea of losing Bianca, but never to being an adult, and certainly not courting a witch." Merrick nodded, a silent acknowledgement. "Sir, He paused. Did he really want to say what was on his mind? Yes, and it might change everything in a terrible way. "Sir, I care for your daughter, more than I ever expected. The more we trained, the more I learned about her, the more I wanted to know. She's strong and smart and fierce and loyal to a fault, though she has her irritations." Derek laughed, a loose sound. "Yes, you've pegged her." Derek paused, shoulders dropping with a long exhale. "The truth is this, Merrick. You're too much like me by half. I don't want Bianca involving herself with men like me." "Protectors?" "Yes. But..." Derek lifted a long-suffering hand to stop him. "Be that as it may, I'm learning that's not my place to dictate. While I may not like it, I also won't stop her. You've earned accolades as well. You've completed your mission, dealt with an irate, unfair high priest, and now have greater things on your horizon. Is there something more you want from me, Your Highness?" Derek's nose wrinkled. "Call me Derek, please, when we're alone. Formalities are such a waste of time." "Yes, sir." A quirked eyebrow followed. Merrick chuckled. "Sorry, sir. Habit." In the air between them, illuminated lines appeared. They raced into an intentional, craggy shape. At first it seemed strange, then utterly familiar. His mouth dropped open as he understood. "The North? I'm sending you home." Merrick drew in a breath. "But..." "Mabel defeated Angelina, but she also inherited a powerful system of dark magic that she now controls. Almoran magic at that. Controlling, devastating." I just used controls. That's another word for control. Dominating. Oh, then we get a good alliteration. Magic at that. Dominating, devastating, and ruthless. With Mabel's powerful position in the Western Network, she's positioned herself for a takeover. We have to be ready for an Alcaran war. What about the Mansfeld Pact? It's broken now, so we'll have to figure that out later. and you're going to help with it. In fact, you're going to go to your high priestesses as my emissary." Merrick processed that with a blink. Derek wanted to bridge both worlds? Months ago, when the Factios and Angelina's presence rose, Wolfgang had given Merrick permission to tell Derek everything. His status in the North, the reason he moved down here. Derek had been more bemused than irate, and let him remain. Merrick dropped the accent, relieved to be rid of it for a moment. "What do you want me to do at home?" "Help the sisters understand what this means. I believe Mabel will go to Farah." Farah, right? Do I say Farah? Farah. Oh my gosh, how do I say it? Is it Farah or Farah? Debbie, do you remember how I say it? Is it Farah or Farah? Do any of you remember? Nope. Ah, shoot. I don't have a snippet for it for sure. I think it's Farah. I'm pretty sure it's Farah. Or Farah. It's Farah. There we go. Regina. She says Farah. Understand what this means. I believe Mabel will go to Farah and ask for Northern Network support. If we can explain things first and assure the North doesn't align with Mabel, we have a chance. They won't. Derek grinned, the closest return to the head of protectors he once knew. I believe the same, but we're going to make certain of it. Certain of it. Going to make certain of it. I believe the same, but we're going to make certain of it. That's where you come in. Thrilled by the prospect of going home, seeing the high priestesses, the mountains, he nodded. Dread followed. He'd have to leave B just when he almost had her. And for who knew how long? As if he read his mind, Derek said, "You'll leave immediately. Contact me directly with questions. Only Zane knows about this for now, but we'll tell the rest of the Brotherhood after the chaos settles." Derek extended an arm. With disbelief, Merrick clasped it. They released, and Merrick sobered. "I'd like to see B before I go, sir." Derek hesitated, then nodded once. "Fine. You see her, then you leave." Time blurred. Minutes ticked together. Hours slopped by without regard to their waiting misery until, with a flurry of magic and dragon wings and calls of relief, Bianca returned. Merrick hovered back while Derek rushed for his daughter. Her limp body transferred from the back of the blue dragon into his arms. Stella, apothecaries, and Martin swamped her. Merrick waited, heart in his throat. After an hour, the chaos had calmed. Reassurances circled the room that Bianca would live. Stella used magic to levitate Bianca into her room. Sana spoke with Derek, then disappeared with the blue dragon as it sprang off the balcony. Martin worked with Reeves. Merrick hid in the shadows. Finally, Stella returned. She and Martin spoke to Derek, then faded out the door. Reeves offered refreshment before they left, and the apartment emptied. Derek dropped to the divan, head in his hands. "Go. See what you need to see and reassure yourself about Bianca, then head home. Speak to the high priestesses and tell them everything that's going on. I expect an update before the end of tomorrow." "Yes, sir." Where's that glass? Merrick slipped down the hall, toward a partially open door that spilled candlelight. Bee lay on her side, facing the window. Several blankets tucked around her shoulders, giving way to inky pools of hair that spread across the pillow. The late hour gave fragile strains of silence to the room, allowing her rest. Her raspy, even breaths created a reassuring soundtrack. Merrick wanted to reach over, set a hand on her shoulder. He remained close to the doorway. There was so much to say, he couldn't possibly know where to start. None of it should be said tonight, either. Regret that he had to leave now, of all times, filled him. He forced it back. If something deeper than friendship would form between him and Bianca, then it had to happen under these pressured circumstances. They had to separate for unknown amounts of time, to say merry part without the certainty of return. Now, he understood Derek's panic. This wasn't fair. But it was better than being without her. Bianca had drive and mettle and spirit. If any witch could survive a relationship with a protector, Bianca was that witch. He believed that to the depths of his soul, which is why he shuffled away, conjured a pencil, a slip of paper, and left a note bereft of all the things he wanted to say. That day would come later. B, I'm glad you're alive, little troublemaker. Save time for a run when I return. M. What? Bum, bum, bum. All right. We done. Okay. Oh, so from here, yeah, I did that in about an hour and 45 minutes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. What? Okay, I gotta celebrate. I love finishing an audiobook. So what I would normally do now, there's this whole process where I go through and I kind of check a few settings, and then I take the tracks and then I import them and I put them through processors, and then we're gonna listen to them, and then I send them to Arthur, who I call my beautician, and there's like this whole thing that comes up next, but we're not gonna do that right now. In fact, I'm just gonna stop sharing. Oh my gosh, look at all of you still here. I'm so impressed. Okay, let me see if I can unmute all of you. I think there's a way. Oh, here we go. Okay, I just hit ask all to unmute, which means you guys should be able to unmute now and actually
Jordan
speak.
was here.
Yeah,
Was that
we
my
got a
Jordan?
message from Jordan.
Yes.
What did that little stinker say?
When you made
bad.
Zane's voice, he's like, that's what she sounds like when she first wakes up.
Oh,
It was
he's
the
getting it.
funniest thing. I read Jordan, and I was like,
Jordan!
is this Jordan? Like,
Jordan!
I'm like, yes!
Derek?
It's
I
our
didn't get him
Derek.
in here.
That
Oh
is
my
the
gosh.
that was the coolest thing
He told us
ever.
we needed that behind the scenes, input.
What a punk. Jordan Cross. Maybe we can get him in here. For those of you that don't know, it's a constant challenge for the Coffee with Katie people to see my husband in real life, because I've patterned Derek after Jordan. So they want to meet Derek, but he was a special forces soldier. He was a Green Beret, and he does all those kind of crazy, dangerous things. So he will
He's
never.
afraid of us.
He's not afraid of you, but it's like a game for him now. Like if he walks behind, he'll like pull his hoodie over or something like that.
Like Bigfoot sightings.
It's so funny. So what did you guys think?
Oh, that was great.
Awesome.
It
was
We're
fantastic.
going a little fast.
Are you going fast?
Everyone in
There
the
was only
house-
one question
Oh, okay,
that
cool.
anybody actually posted, and it was whoever T is. I mean, just a T. I don't know.
Oh,
They
yeah.
wanted to know what recording program or software you use.
Oh, it's called Reaper. So, it's really more for music. They're called DAWs. It's digital audio workstation. I use Reaper, and when I tell people that, they're like, "Really?" Like, if you're in the sound world, they're like, "Really? For audiobooks?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it works really good." I took a course on Udemy, and then I have a I have a mentor that I'm in touch with constantly that's always like helping me tweak it, and we're checking levels, and then he's critiquing me and helping me with accents and stuff like that. So yeah, I use Reaper. It's like a really big DAW, and I use it like if it's like this big, I use like this much of it because I'll just get lost. Like I'm like, I don't just teach me what buttons not to push, like what buttons to push, and we'll be fine. That's my approach for it.
I'm gonna have my hands full when this comes to me, though.
You're gonna have what? Oh, go ahead, Ann.
Shushmita did ask if you had a background in theater because you were so
Oh, I
good at
forgot.
switching voices.
I don't.
And
Oh, thank you.
I was gonna tell her you didn't, but I figured I'd leave that. I forgot she asked that.
Oh, you're fine. No, I don't. It's just so I started officially recording books almost a year ago. I've been doing it longer because Arthur and I were working together. We'd hop on and he'd critique me and tell me how to do this. And so I've been practicing it for months and months before I actually officially did it. But I've literally narrated so much this year because we've been doing all the backlog and then all the current releases that, sometimes I narrate for like 3 hours a day that I think I've just like sped up my skill level with it because I'm just constantly narrating and walking around my house trying to talk like Wolfgang and and that's probably why Jordan said I sound like Zane in the morning. Jordan! He's probably cracking up right now, you guys. He probably thinks he's so funny. And he kind of is. That's the problem. I'm gonna read. He's busted. He's not coming in because he's scared. Oh, I'm glad that you guys think that's really interesting. Oh, I see your question, T. Do I suggest any others? Honestly, if I were to redo this, I probably wouldn't do Reaper just because it's so big and it's hard to find people to help me with it. I would probably, some people say they use GarageBand, but I've heard that it's really hard to do punch and roll. So what you guys saw when I would mess up, I would just go back, put the cursor somewhere, hit record, and it would like go back 3 seconds and I would hear those 3 seconds so I could say it and then roll with it. It's called punch and roll. So that's how you fix the errors. It's hard to do punch and roll in GarageBand, and it's really hard to record efficiently if you're not doing punch and roll. Like I can't imagine editing any other way. And then, I mean, there's so many out there and I only know about Reaper, so I can't recommend any others. But if you need an amazing guy to kind of help you out with that, I can get you Arthur's information because he's phenomenal and he has like a bachelor's in theater and he records his own audiobooks and he works for Disney and he's just really awesome. So let me know. Sorry, not that helpful. Does anyone, now that I'm here, does anyone have any questions?
Two.
Oh, just a sec, Terry. Shoot me an email, T. It's katie@kcrosswriting.com, and then I can email introduce you to Arthur, and that'll be a lot easier. I think he only like works on referral. Like he'll only, I think, like go to people that like are sent to him because I think he gets enough work. He doesn't really do a lot of advertising, but I'm not sure. Go ahead, Terry.
I sent you the answers to two of your questions two emails. So when you look at them, I'm
Okay,
curious.
perfect. Yeah.
That's it.
No worries. I had to mom today, so I haven't really done them. Yes, that email. T, you can reply to that email and I will get it. That'll be perfect. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Oh, and you were trying to figure out whether to say Farah or for I'm over here going, I wish you just turn us.
It's
like,
Farah, right?
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm
because I was like,
please
oh
unmute
yeah,
me for just a
Regina.
second.
I had to channel Regina, like, oh, it's Farah. This is Regina
Please
that came through.
don't say Farah. Please don't.
I would just have to go back and re-record it. This is what happens,
that's
you
all.
guys. Like you get so, like when Bianca and Derek were fighting, I was starting to lose Derek because I was like, wait, I'm getting into the emotion and I'm losing the accent. So that's why I had to go back and like practice it and like figure it out. And then you just get so in the story that I'm like, am I doing his accent right? And like you have to figure it out. It's really interesting. Anyway, Diane, were you happy with it? I know how excited you've been
Yes,
for
it
this.
was so
Okay.
exciting. So exciting.
I
He's
went
laughing at
through
me.
earlier today and edited the whole thing just to it was pretty choppy. So I went through and smoothed it over. Otherwise we would be recording for the rest of the night because I'd have to stop, start and fix stuff up. So it was just a few things were switched here and there, but
Mhm.
I kind of stepped away for a minute, but I'm glad to step back in over here.
yeah, hi, it's great to meet you, Juliana. Is that how you say it?
Yes, you got it, Katie.
Awesome. Well, great to meet you.
Well, thank you. We've exchanged emails a few times, but I know you
Yep.
probably have so many people that you
I'm pretty good
are
about
in
remembering
contact
names,
with.
like Mr. Huff right there. We haven't met yet. I know you. Melinda, I think you might be new. Definitely know Heather.
It's my first Zoom with you, but
Yeah. Have you emailed me before?
I think so. When I first read the network.
Sometimes I need the first and last name. And then I'm like, oh, now I remember you.
Yeah.
But it was really nice to just accidentally see that email with the link and it's like, that's now. I'll click it.
I'm so glad. That's what I was hoping.
Glad you caught it.
Yeah. Well, just a shame I've got to run out and do some mothering.
I feel that.
I had to run out too. My mother called me, and so I had to take that call. So I missed the end of the story, darn it.
Oh,
But
It'll
but I
be
just
fine.
got
It'll
back
be
now.
worth it.
Yeah, it will be worth it. It'll be $2.99 US dollars.
Yeah, no, that's no worries.
Not much. Yeah. Well, it was super good to meet you. Do you need to go, Andy?
Yeah, Mickey's having like a coughing
Oh,
thing and she kind of threw up a little. So I have to go, but I just
Oh,
wanted to say I so enjoyed this. This was so much fun. It was super cool seeing you how you went, is this what you said? Is it? And you went back and forth and then just kept correcting words. And Debbie
God.
was like freaking out every time you said something that wasn't written or you said something wrong or
I
wrote
warned you.
something.
At the beginning, I said, don't compare my books because I'm going to say it different. Like, I take stuff out and I switch words around all the time. And I don't always go
Oh.
fix them because it's just auditory. But it was so good to see you, Andy. I hope Mickey gets feeling better. I
Yeah,
hope both
she-
girls sleep well.
Oh, grasso. Ow.
She gone.
Mickey's on the- Keep
Oh,
going.
I'm sorry, Michaela.
It was fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, gotta
Thank
go,
you so
guys.
much for coming. Bye, Andy. Thanks, Melinda. Thank you both for coming. It's so fun. And I
Someone
don't.
had-
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Katie. Someone had asked a question in the messaging thing, and I was curious too. And since I had to step away, I didn't know if it got answered already, but they were asking what kind of program you're using for your
Yeah.
voice recording. And
Yes,
I
I
was
did answer
curious
that.
too.
Yeah, I did
Okay.
answer that. It's called Reaper. So it's a digital audio workstation. They're called DAWs. Like GarageBand is a DAW, and like there's a bunch of
Okay.
different DAWs. I use Reaper. It's like I pretty much like have an entire glacier and I need like an ice cube in terms of like functionality, right? It's
Yeah,
usually more for
yeah.
music. Not a lot of people use it for audiobooks, and it's pretty complicated. I think if I knew at the beginning what I know now, I probably wouldn't use it, but it works fine. You know, it's fine for what it is.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I was curious, so
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. No problem. No problem
It's
at all.
been really interesting watching you do your narration because seeing
thanks.
the process and everything and
Mhm.
how you'll start talking before you get to the point where you start recording again, so you have that continuity in your voice. It was just
Mhm.
it's all, and you have a lovely voice.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
So
that. That was nerve-wracking when I first started. I'm like, no one wants to hear my voice all day.
uh-huh.
Good.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Lila, I
we
know you
do.
do. That was awesome. Well, thank you,
I've
Juliana.
already
It's
been
nice
listening to
to
it
meet
all
you too.
day.
I know. Debbie's proofing another audiobook I just finished. Well, I have to say, Pat, I don't know if we've met yet, but welcome. Thanks for coming. And then John, hi. I feel like you and I just email, right?
Oh, you're muted, John.
Oh, wait, let me ask you to unmute. We had to like put the settings so that people couldn't. Anyway.
Oh,
Yeah,
there
I
he's
got it
good.
now. Yeah, I've been keeping in touch with you because I started reading your books, the Network series and Network Saga, and just one after the other, but trying to keep them in order is a real challenge.
Have you
So,
found our reading list yet, like on the website?
Yes, I
Okay.
have, but now
Okay.
there's a new one out there, The Gods, that little short story. Okay, where does The Gods fit?
It's on the list. It's just at the bottom.
It's in there now.
Because you
got
kind of need to finish the Network Saga before you read the Gods.
Oh, okay. I'm getting around to it since who am I thinking of? No. Lydia Sher.
Yeah, I
She
love
kind of-
Lydia.
Yeah, she kind of fell off with her writing. There was this huge gap, and she suggested I read one of your books, and that was it. That was all it took. I must have read
She's
like 9
awesome.
of them.
And he's hooked.
Yes, that's what I love to hear, John. Well, if you stay, I will always have another book for you.
Yeah,
If there's
sure.
one thing we don't slack on, it is definitely writing books. Yeah,
I didn't get to get on this call because we're at the end of the semester and I had to have grades in. The only reason I remembered it was I was just checking my students' emails before I went to bed. It's 11:15 here in Florida.
Yeah, it's
So,
late.
yeah, so I wanted to check and make sure nobody was complaining about the grade I gave them, and you just happened to pop up, and I'm there. Oh yeah, that's right, I forgot. So say a sentence like you would have recorded it. So
I'm so glad that you just happened to pop on. That's why I try to send the emails out like right before so that people can like randomly see it, and check it out and then have fun. It's really great.
Yeah, but this was recorded, right?
Yeah. So I'll be posting this to YouTube after this so you can kind of go back and watch it and listen. There's a bunch of our regulars that have been doing the live writing with Katie that weren't able to make it tonight. And then people, like it's hard. I have kids. Like you can't just like always make it. So we have it recorded for people to watch. But if my plan is moving forward is every Monday night at the same time at this link, we do a live writing with Katie. So all of the reader request series for right now I will do during that time. So you guys can watch me through the writing process. That one is maybe a little more fun for you because, well, this is probably fun, but you can talk to each other and then just like see what I'm writing. So everybody kind of gets to chat and get to know each other, but I just don't join the audio, so I can't hear you. And then the last 10 minutes of the hour, I pop in and we talk about it. And then we'll record the audiobooks like this. So you guys get to be part of the process. So next Monday, we're going to take this book through production. So I'll show you guys like my ebook software, like how I upload to like the different places and like what we do to prep for launching it on the other side. So you guys get to see what does this look like behind the scenes and why does my book sometimes not deliver or whatever else, like whatever question you have. And then after that, we just go ahead and launch it. It should come out the 23rd of this month. So right before Christmas. So you can come back on Mondays and then we'll just jump right into the next reader request story, which will be Merrick and Bianca in War of the Networks, probably
Yeah.
through the parting. So anyway, so that's kind of plan.
Seems like every other day or so, I get an email, new book is out. And I think I have an automatic link right to Book Funnel. It just downloads them and comes onto my Kindle.
I love all of this.
Yeah, but it's late now, so I'm going to bed. It
Yes,
was
go to
nice
bed, my
being in
friend.
person, and I will talk to you later.
Yes, it was so good to meet you. Thank you for coming. Get some sleep and hopefully we'll see you
Yeah,
again.
I will.
All right, everyone. I think I might have to do the same. It's
me too.
9:15. I got a 5 a.m. coming, but
Yeah.
I'm so amazed you guys stayed the whole time. So cool.
Had to.
Diane knew everything that was going to happen
absolutely.
and she still had to.
I just wish I could have stayed for the whole thing, but yeah, like I
Well,
said,
you can grab the replay too if you want to
Yeah.
watch it. That'll be great.
yeah.
So you
Well,
can
it's
have
so
that.
fun watching you do that. So
Oh, I'm
I
so
just buy-
glad. Well, we'll definitely do more of it. We'll do more of it.
Okay.
It's fun. I mean, I would do it more often, but then you would just hear random parts of different books and then you wouldn't know what's going on and it would be kind of weird.
Right.
So doing it
Yeah.
this way, you like one book at a time, it makes it easier to kind of understand and see it.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
well, Debbie, thank you so much for all your help. Thank you, everyone.
Mhm.
You are all awesome. And we will be talking.
There's Debbie.
I'm
That's
sure.
the Debbie that we've all been talking about, right?
Yes.
Hi,
Yeah.
Debbie.
That's me.
She's like, hi, here I am. Oh, I found Jordan's note. Katie Zane voice is how she normally sounds when she wakes up. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yes, we were all chuckling over that.
Mhm. That buddy is going down.
He was giving us some background intel.
I get even. He knows it.
I was so shocked when I was like, how does Katie know he's here?
Well,
You would have
I force him to stay signed up to my email list. So
you would have had to let him on.
he's tried to subscribe. Well, I saw Jordan, but I didn't want to be like, is that my husband? I was like, who? It could be anyone, you know? So I make him stay subscribed. Like if he tried to unsubscribe, I would go resubscribe him just to torture him. But I think he likes to like watch my like emails that I send out because then he's like, saw you launched a book today. You know, like keeps track of it. So I bet he put the kids down and then he saw the email and so he
The cat and mouse, you know.
totally. That is a good way to describe our marriage. The cat and mouse. We're very much Regina and Derek for sure. That's awesome.
Who's the cat and who's the mouse?
Oh, I'm definitely the cat. Yeah. Definitely the cat. I tell him like I am queen. You understand that, right? And there is no king. No, I actually trained my son the other day. I was like, go tell dad what I told you to tell him. And it was, hey dad, mom is queen and you're the court jester.
Oh
Not even the queen consort, but the
No.
court jester.
Court
Okay.
jester. Yeah, he was like, nice. I was like, it was good, right? Delivered by the young and innocent.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Out of the mouths
awesome.
of babes.
Yeah. Well, everyone, thank you for making my night. This was so fun to do together, and we'll be doing it again. The next audiobook will be a couple weeks, but we'll be doing live writing with Katie every Monday at 7 o'clock Mountain Time. And like I said, you can just kind of watch it come about. It takes about 6 weeks to get it written because I only work on it at the like coffee with Katie call or the live writing with Katie calls. So I only work on it then. So it takes like it'll take a couple months, but then eventually that one we'll do as an audiobook as well. And I'll send out the email so you can come back if you're just interested in watching the recording and narration of the audiobook. Emails will be coming. So as long as you make sure I'm on your contact list so the emails will come through, you should be notified when we do the next one.
Mhm.
So awesome. All right, everyone. Well, have a good night. We'll
Okay,
talk
good
to you
All
night.
right.
Good
You
night.
Friday.
too. Thank you so
Thank-
much.
You're
Yes,
so
it was
welcome.
great.
Thanks for
Bye,
coming.
everybody.
See ya.
Good night.
Everybody want to see a quick